When Rayman 2 was released for the PC, N64, and Dreamcast, it was a critical darling. The PC and Dreamcast versions had an aggregate percentage above 90, and most importantly of all, I liked it. And that's all that really matters. You can look forward to the launch of Metacritic any day now. The game brought the limbless wonder from side-scrolling to the third dimension, and did so fantastically, with quirky but unique art design, great movement and abilities, and awesome level design. For a long time, Rayman 2 was my top bar for a 3D platformer, one that wouldn't be matched until Mario Galaxy would meet and rocket past that standard. It's so good that I'm willing to recommend it despite its creator being so cringe that they responded to abuse allegations by having a fictitious conversation with Jade from Beyond Good and Evil like he's a freaking fanfic author. But besides wasting everyone's time with Ubisoft's equivalent to Star Citizen, there's one other Ansel project that received critical scorn, and it happened to be a game in development at the same time as Rayman 2. This project would go through a lot of development troubles with multiple delays and 9 different name changes. After all of that, Tonic Trouble released for the Nintendo 64 on August 31st, 1999. And, oh no, there are problems. So where do we even begin with this mess? Well, let's start with the opening sequence, which manages to feel both high and low budget at the same time. Ed works as a space janitor, though he won't be having his quest in space itself, but back on Earth when he accidentally sends down an unknown concoction that begins contaminating the waters and mutating anyone and anything that drinks it. This one shot is shown at such breakneck speed that it borders on demented. But it's at least the kind of energy that I wish the entire game could embody. Unfortunately, this energy is almost immediately flushed away by lengthy text dumps, one after the other explaining character roles and the story. This flat and lifeless beginning really suggests an unfinished quality to the game. The first level, perhaps ominously, is an ice slide level. Not exactly what I would pick if I wanted to leave a strong first impression. The collision detection is a bit rough, and you're grabbing items that you have no context for, and a couple of indecipherable UI elements. That thermometer on the left is actually your health bar, and you'll be extending that meter by collecting 10 thermometers throughout each stage. The bouncing orbs are generic healing items, and the swirls are antidotes, the main collectible that you'll need to finish the game. You'll likely miss several items, and the game helpfully provides a retry option at the end, but I already wanted to move on to some actual platforming, so I kept going. One of the things you'll notice early on is the segmented nature of each level, which extends to the hub world. You won't be able to go very far without needing to travel through a door or portal to another area. This most likely has to do with the N64's RAM and cart size limitations, but even still, the hub world feels pretty cramped. By contrast, Banjo-Kazooie has a segmented hub world as well, but Rare makes each section feel a lot bigger than it actually is, and the stages themselves have a decent overworld size before you factor in the additional exits and entrances. Tonic Trouble stages feel exactly as big as they are, which is to say, not very. You do get some rooms that have a nice cavernous feel, and when you later get the glide ability, you feel a bit less constrained in travel in these rooms, but on the whole, the level segments are only as big as they absolutely need to be in order to function. Not everything is negative about the game, though. I actually think the movement and jumping feel mostly fine, though edge grabbing is a bit of a coin flip. The level design, despite my issues, is also alright, and I didn't have much issue jumping from platform to platform like I had in my earlier review of Goemon. Occasionally, you can become a super strong guy to create new paths, which you do by eating— wait, what the— is that Newman's Own popcorn? Huh? Newman's Own chose Tonic Trouble as their gateway to gaming? I guess that's why they've never done it since. The general goal of each level is to find 6 of a level-specific collectible and then take it back to the doc, who will reward you with a new ability that will not only allow you to reach the next level, but can also be used in previous levels to reach collectibles you couldn't get to before. New abilities include gliding, swinging, transformation, and pea shooting. I definitely like this aspect of the game, although the fact that you need 160 out of 180 swirls to beat the game does kind of make the backtracking feel more like artificial padding than a fun bit of optional exploration. I mean, that's almost 90%. Not quite as ridiculous as the 98% of Muppets Monster Adventure, but still bizarrely high. I should also mention that I unlocked almost every level within 3 hours, so, like I said, Tonic Trouble feels unfinished. The levels are varied enough, but unfortunately not super visually distinct from one another. Blame the N64's propensity for muddy textures and limited color depth if you want, but I think the art direction is playing a role here. Like there's this pyramid level that only feels pyramid themed in the hub world area, and once you're in the level, aside from a mummy or sarcophagus here and there, it doesn't look much different from the Vegetable HQ level or even the Glacier level I had just finished. Compare once again to Banjo-Kazooie, a game I don't even love that much, but Gobi's Valley just eats this level's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This leads into a larger point that I've sort of been putting off, but you'll notice I haven't mentioned Rayman 2 in a while. My general impression of Tonic Trouble is that it really wants to impress upon you that it's weird, but it doesn't have the creativity to back that up. I mean, I cannot stand this character design. Why did they make an uglier Rayman? I hate seeing his teeth and gums every time he celebrates, ugh. When you put Tonic Trouble up against the other game being made at Ubisoft at the same time, it makes the disparity between the two all the more baffling. Rayman 2's art direction is much more inspired, its level design more fun and challenging to overcome, and even the abilities are better and easier to wield. Sure, the Pea-shooter functions fine with a first-person toggle that at least puts it on par with Ocarina of Time's aiming, but the bowtie glide just sucks in comparison to Rayman's helicopter float. It makes long distances more of a gamble, and if you miss an item or an updraft, it's difficult to swing back around in time to reach it again. And while Rayman 2's camera implementation is solid, Tonic Trouble's camera is chaotically clumsy. It just can't help but get caught on seemingly inconsequential spots while I venture way off screen. I don't know why it gets distracted the way it does, but I found myself having to hit the recenter button over and over and over again. There are additional settings in the options, and none of them help. The only reason why it didn't frustrate me more is because the game is so short. A studious playthrough that collects 160 antidotes is only going to run you 5 to 6 hours at most, and you'll have seen all the levels by hour 4. With games like Jumping Flash that have roots in coin-op arcade design, I can forgive a short length. But considering Rayman 2 has 18 levels and Tonic Trouble only has 10, it just seems like an entirely compromised experience. On top of that, Tonic Trouble was only ported to Windows and doesn't have a Dreamcast or PS2 port. So if you were a console gamer at the time, your only option was this N64 version that doesn't run super well. In some spots, the frame rate will drop from 60 all the way down to 20. It's never unplayable, but it's another knock on a game that's already got a lot going against it. If you're looking for a 3D platformer and you've exhausted the top games on the N64, I'd say still skip over Tonic Trouble. Sorry to those who loved it as a kid, but I don't think it has aged well, and it didn't review that great to begin with. If you're adamant about playing every 3D platformer, then you'll find that Tonic Trouble certainly isn't the worst, but I don't know why you'd pick it over its significantly, extravagantly better brother. It's not even as good as Donald Duck Going Quackers, a PS2 platformer by the same exact Ubisoft team. Oh, and did I mention that Ubisoft Montreal made Splinter Cell, Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, Assassin's Creed Origins? All that from a studio that started off with a couple of Playmobil games and this purple freak. Do yourself a favor and just play Splinter Cell. It's the disc you use to mod your Xbox. There's actually a game on there. It's pretty neat. Hey, thanks for watching this stupid video. This was a game voted on by members of my Patreon, not sure how they feel about it now, which you'll find a link to in the description below. My channel flat out wouldn't exist without Patreon support, so anything you can provide is helpful. I'm going to be taking next week off for Christmas, but come back on the 31st for my Game of the Year video, which will tackle dozens of awesome indie games I played, as well as discussing the games I missed and what you can look forward to in 2025. Until then, like and subscribe and you'll find me in another castle.